Initializing host playback.
Welcome to MRP, the Metal Robot Podcast, the podcast about all things metal and everything in between. The month of love is still ongoing, but the year of thrash is ever present. Thrash means love, right? That's what I'm getting here, I think, right now, because, I mean, maybe the secret to thrash is that if you're a thrash metalhead, you're either a hopeless romantic or you're more horny than the dog in the heat. I don't know. I'm not an expert. Coming up, we keep on going with the Year of Thrash by sitting down with Chuck Billy of Testament. Yes, really. We forego the wheel in favor of the Essentials Dungeon, and it's the Year of Thrash with the season of black metal. Let's check out some of the latest black metal albums from this past Friday. All this and so much more, so let's not waste much more time. Let's get on with the show. I'm Tom McKay, and this is episode 70 of the Metal Robot Podcast. And we begin the show with some heavier, darker pudding. This review segment is taking a darker turn into blacker waters. Black metal is on the menu for tonight, and it's totally not because all of the albums I had early access to were mostly of the black metal variety. Totally not. No, I clearly had intentions to do this. I don't dare call myself an expert in the true cult world of frog screeches, tremolo picking, and drums playing speed over substance. I mean, blast beats. But let's get a guide from the light to dark and ease us into the realm of snow, blood, and fire. And, well, Satan. Because true cult. This episode features 3 brand new black metal albums that just dropped this past Friday, each with a different flavor of black metal to ease us into these dark waters. For there might not be a return from there. Let's start off with some symphonic black metal. Daidalos' sophomore album, Dante, an album said to be a, quote, personal reinterpretation of the Divine Comedy's Inferno. The album is said to explore doubt, despair, and the hidden truths between faith and fear. I wanted to start this one with this one because, well, A, I'm still waiting on Signo Draconis to finish with Purgatorio because goddamn their Inferno was so good, but also B, symphonic is one of my favorite flavors of black metal, and that's coming together on this one very nicely. From the opening of the title track to the explosion of Inferno, the second circle of Storm, the dark choirs of Minos, the hike into the infernal city of Gate and Dis, and the frosty closing of Ultimatum. The album is a darker retelling of Dante's Inferno's story, which is saying a lot. I mean, I don't know how many of y'all have actually read the Divine Comedy or know anything of it, but all the stuff I've heard isn't exactly family-friendly. Personally, I still think Signo Draconis' double album interpretation is still my favorite version of a metal adaptation of the original source material, but one thing Daidalos has over that heavy prog metal masterpiece is it's way easier to digest. Sitting at only 35 minutes, it's a quick album to pour through and not too overwhelming. I would actually even say that 35 minutes might be a little too short, but it's not like this is an underwhelming album to fill all that time together. I mean, you're not really going to be wasting a lot of time here. So if you're looking for getting into anything black metal, I always recommend starting with the variants of black metal. That's why I wanted to start here. And, well, starting with my favorite flavor isn't really a bad place to go. As for what I actually think of of Daidalos's reinterpretation of Dante's Inferno, honestly, 13.5 out of 15. It's a great solid album to listen to and a great look into the darker side of an already dark comedy. Okay, so we're getting some black gaze this time. Yep, it's a real thing, I promise. The realm of shoegaze meets black metal, and that leads us to Domhain's In Perfect Stillness. Honestly, this might have been the better place to start our black metal journey, as this is probably the least black metal of the 3 albums that we have tonight. But not a bad one to check out either. What a head trip. This feels almost like meditation music more than it does a pledge to the Dark Lord while lost in the forests of Norway. But actually, maybe that's why this album isn't the first one to start things off with. At least with Daidalos, it's more straightforward with its composition. Domhain is such a head trip, and a pure lost in the sauce experience starting here might get the wrong impression of black metal. Not that it's a bad thing, not by a long shot. In Perfect Stillness is actually a pretty colorful and immersive album overall. It gives off an elven forest vibe more than a dark spirit one, and I like that change of pace from most black metal. I would even argue this falls in line with even atmospheric black metal, with the soundscape on full display here. It is a real head trip though, so if you're looking for something more straightforward, this ain't it, fam. But purists with a craving for experimentation might still get a kick out of this one. Personally, sticking with a 12 out of 15 might be best from me here. It's got great elements of a lot of different styles, but I think this is one I gotta personally be in the right mood for. Just speaking personally is all. Okay, I've been dancing around for too long here. Let's get into some straight black metal with Merculistarya's A Flood of Pain in the Bed of Contemplation.
That's not the album name.
Yes it is. I just translated it from Hungarian, because if you think I'm going to try and pronounce that, you're out of your fucking mind, robot.
Pussy.
It's
Okay.
easy.
All right. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Yeah, the Hungarian protocols have not been updated in a long time, or ever for that matter. But from the opening of this album, it feels like a dark, personal album based on the sounds of it. More intimate with its darkness and despair. It toys with lots of dark, intruding guitar work and a pure black metal onslaught. The intimacy of this debut album from the one-man project is something interesting. The traditional black metal elements are in the foreground, though, with full tremolo guitar picking, fast-paced blast beats, and rough around the edges production that screams pure as the winter snow true cult black metal. It also is a stark contrast to what we've heard already in this segment. That's why I wanted to save this one for last. While Daidalos' symphonic add-on tells an epic story, the black metal of Merculistarya takes things to a harsher, more cold approach. And Domhain's atmospheric shoegaze is a neat interpretation of the black metal sound, but the atmosphere on A Flood of Pain in the Bed of Contemplation is designed to be darker, more depressing, and down in comparison. As much as I enjoyed this one, though, I wouldn't say I'm going to be checking out this album again and again. It's one thing where I might have to be in the right mood for it. Personally, I don't reach for this style too often. For for when, like, in this particular seasons, like when the groundhog sees its stupid fucking cute shadow. But I think Merculistarya has a solid debut album to start with. If you're down for more black metal in your life, then this is a great place to end up as you dive deep into the dark waters of black metal. All in all, 13 out of 15 for me. Solid. Go check it out. But of course, those are my thoughts, and now I want to hear from you in the comments. Have you heard of the albums that I just mentioned? Have you had a listen to them? What did you think? Let me know, and let me know if you've started your black metal journey as well.
This show is run by you.
What matrix slaves on a hamster wheel?
Know what album I should check out next? Send an email, tmckay@themetalrobot.com.
That's TMCKAY@themetalrobot.com. You're listening to MRP, the Metal Robot Podcast.
Moving right along here, this episode, we're trying something different than what we've been doing the past few episodes. Instead of spinning the archives wheel of fate, we need to head downstairs. Welcome back down to the Essentials Dungeon. Down here, we dust off some of the old vinyls and CDs to determine if it is essential metal listening, at least once in one's metalhead journey. And obviously, we started off with a very important one that's going to really challenge me in this verdict, in this decision-making process. Right?
You've got desire, so let it out. You've got the power, stand up and shout.
What? Dio? Not just any Dio album. Fucking Holy Diver is on for this one? Come the fuck on. Even I know the answer to this one, and I wouldn't even consider myself a big heavy metal guy. Like, come on. Ronnie James Dio is one of the most famous and most talented metal singers of all time, even long after he had passed away. I don't think anybody is really questioning the validity of that statement. He was, this is a long time coming. He was an active singer, he was active as a singer dating back to the late 50s with Red Caps, and since then became a huge proponent of rock vocals, leading into the rise of early heavy metal. So much so, he actually jumped in on vocals for Black Motherfucking Sabbath.
So it's on and on and on. It's heaven and hell.
Like, he was essential even back then. Black Sabbath's Heaven and Hell album is another one of those essential listens that need to be picked up and blasted through your speakers late into the night to piss off the neighborhood watch. Seriously, it's worth checking out. The Dio era of Black Sabbath is a very interesting one for those who have only really listened to the Ozzy era, but seriously, it's worth it. The classic heavy metal sound of Black Sabbath pairs so well with Dio's harsh operatic vocal style that became a gold standard for heavy metal vocals for the rest of all time. And that's even before he went off on his own to form the band for his solo project, aptly named Dio, and dropped what would become one of the most important metal albums of all time, 1983's Holy Fucking Diver. Yeah, D&D fans everywhere just jizz themselves, and for good reason. From the energetic opening of Stand Up and Shout to the anthemic stomp of Holy Diver, and the mystical sound of Don't Talk to Strangers, the upbeat groove of Rainbow in the Dark, and closing out strong with the mysterious Shame on the Night. Dio's solo debut was as strong as one could hope, and then some. Working alongside former Black Sabbath drummer Vinny Appice, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, I do apologize. The combo of his grooves and Dio's rocking metal operatic vocal style was a deadly one at best.
Shame on the night.
And I don't even need to mention the rest of Dio's catalog for you here, because we're talking about Holy Diver, but even then, Dio is essential, period. While there isn't really much mention of the album's post The Last in Line from 1984, come on. No one's questioning Dio's catalog is a titan of heavy metal standards on full display. Both Holy Diver and The Last in Line were some of the strongest of heavy metal history. So arguing whether this Holy Diver, the debut album for Dio, is an essential album that any metalhead worth their salt needs to listen to at least once is, kind of pointless if you ask me. It's like trying to argue that Black Sabbath wasn't the original metal band. It may have come from earlier origins, but if there's no Black Sabbath, there's no heavy metal. And if there's no Dio, heavy metal vocalists would never be the same again. I think it's pretty clear here, if you're a metal fan, and especially a metal vocalist, Dio's Holy Diver is an album you need to listen to at least once in your lifetime. Hell, especially if you're a metalhead. Do I even need to mention that a metalcore band like Killswitch Engage covered the song Holy Diver and did it such great justice? Come on. If you haven't heard this album yet, do yourself a favor, dig it up. Seriously, don't hold out on that one. But of course, those are my thoughts. Now I want to hear from you. Do you agree with the verdict? Who else should we dust off for the Essentials Dungeon next time? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Coming up, the Year of Thrash continues with a spotlight on Testament's upcoming U.S. tour, Thrash of the Titans, and their 2025 album, Para Bellum. This is the Metal Robot Podcast. We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by you. No, I didn't steal your wallet. I mean you over on Patreon. For exclusive content, early access, and behind the scenes, head on over to patreon.com/themetalrobot.
You may or may not be paying for my drinking problem. I'm just saying.
This Tuesday on the Influencers of Metal podcast.
It's a nice chill.
Fucking Jesus, not again! The Year of Thrash is nigh!
On the next show,
Our souls are now being transferred over to that.
Excuse me, I didn't sign up for this shit. Stop
I did.
forging my signature!
the Influencers of Metal podcast with Collin and Tom. New episodes twice a week. Subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
You can stay up to date with all things Metal Robot. But what if I don't want to? Well, that's good for you. Oh, and don't mind the wall of death hurtling towards you. The what?
Oh, what the fuck? Oh, God! Oh, God! My legs! I was not ready for the quiz, my
Everyone else in the pit, here's what you need to know.
Facebook and Twitter.
At the Metal Robot.
Instagram.
At the Metal Robot. Because some dickhead got to it before me.
Oh, my legs!
Follow for all the latest updates on the Metal Robot and the Metal Robot Podcast.
You're listening to MRP, the Metal Robot Podcast. Night, days, blood on the street, another more victim race for his race.
And finally tonight, we're wrapping up the show by continuing on with the Year of Thrash with an exciting entry. Admittedly, I think as some of you know, I'm not exactly the biggest thrash guy around.
What a shocker. The Prog Frog is not a thrasher.
You're hilarious. Look, I do enjoy some thrash, especially the classics and the titans from the genre's prime. And as well, if they're German for some reason. I have no idea why. They do something different here. But I do agree as well with Thrasher's Paradise's Collin Sterling, who was on the show last episode, when he predicted that 2026 would be the year of thrash. And another entry to be excited for, outside of Anthrax announcing a new album this year, especially if you're in the US, is the upcoming Thrash of the Titans tour with Testament in support of their new banger of an album, Para Bellum, which made it to number 5 on Metal Robot's Best Metal Albums of 2025. The tour starting mid-March in Portland, Oregon, and so far going till April 10th when they finish at Berkeley in California. Testament will be joined by a couple of other titans of thrash, Overkill and Destruction. So, to talk more about Para Bellum, Thrash of the Titans, and the Year of Thrash, let's welcome Testament into the Metal Robot servers finally and say hi to frontman Chuck Billy on the Metal Robot Podcast. Chuck, welcome to the show. I'm doing good. What's happening over there?
Oh, just trying to survive here in California. We're getting flooded out here, but it's all right.
Oh, man. Is it like flood season right now, or is that the expression?
It's a lot of rain hitting us right now. So.
Well, yeah, we're getting some up in Canada right now, so we're getting a lot of freezing rain up here. That's so much fun. Gotta love that. Yeah. Groundhog up here predicted like early spring. Bullshit. I call bullshit on that one right now. But thank you so much for joining me on this one. Let's start with a couple warm-up questions here. Testament has survived every metal era imaginable. What would you say is the biggest misconception that people still have about the band?
I don't know if there's a misconception anymore. I think everybody that's been a fan of the band for 40 years now, I think realize, and even us, that, we've always stayed Testament, focused on our sound, stuck with our sound, developed our sound. And then funny thing is, the last 2 records we did, we found a new way to expand what our writings, the way we write songs. We came across something pretty unique where the last record and this record, I really just took the music Eric gave me instead of trying to arrange them with him, which actually made me as a vocalist really in an uncomfortable situation, trying to sing over riffs that I wouldn't really pick.
Really?
But they
Okay.
actually made for a better record when I then wrote the songs and sat back and listened. I'm like, you know what? I used so many different layers of voices because I approached them individually, and I wasn't really challenging Eric what he's given me. I was just doing my best with what he was given me, but it really made for a better song. And I think we really hit on something trying to write songs this way, and the success of Titans, and then what we did for the Para Bellum record. We're like, wow, that's the way we're going to do it from now on. It just feels right.
Yeah, did it open up like a new, like you said it was, you were working with riffs that you wouldn't have picked otherwise. Did it open up a new like challenge as a vocalist to do something different with your voice and like cadence, anything of that sort?
Yeah, I mean, like on this record, I use 4 different textures on the songs. Like I would give the songs, like when we write these songs, we don't rehearse them as a band. They don't hear the vocals till I record them. So nobody knows anything until they started getting demos from the studio. So like when I sent Eric some of the tracks I was singing, he was like, "Oh man, are you going to finish those, right?" I'm like, "No, that is the finished texture and tone." He's like, "It sounds like you're not like, giving it your all." I'm like, "Yeah, but this is the feeling I feel I need to lay on this song." Like songs like Room 117 or Nature of the Beast, I use a laid back, heavier Chuck voice. Where songs like, Para Bellum, where I use a heavier, deather voice, or, and songs like the first track, death and a screaming voice combination. So I'm trying different things, which it's making me uncomfortable, but I'm finding a way to make them work. And I'm actually going, you know what? This is actually kind of cool because, man, after 40 years of writing songs, I'm actually being challenged to kind of figure it out once again. And it's kind of neat being put back in that spot. And the response from the fans getting the songs is like, you know what? Wow, this is maybe the way to go,
Yeah, and I feel like it's working out too. I mean, especially with Para Bellum, which came out last year in 2025. I feel like it's one of the heavier and angrier albums in your discography, especially with songs like Infanticide AD, The Encroachment of Artificial Intelligence, and as well as the sort of what I felt like was a blackened influence on Shadow. Shadow People. But with Infanticide AI, do you feel the recent news of AI music has made that song more appropriate and spot on?
Yeah, but I don't know appropriate. When we wrote it, it was because of so much AI that's been in our life. It's kind of forced down your throat now. It's like, for example, driverless taxis to food delivery carts on the streets of LA to, even as far as even the music business. I went to Sweetwater where they distribute instruments and all kinds of things for the music industry. All robots. There's no people in the warehouse. All pulling and selling, shipping shit out all through robots. So it's like, man, it's just taken over everywhere we go.
Wow.
And then when we wrote this record, Infanticide AI was one of the first songs, and we were kind of leaning towards the title. But then again, we're kind of going, you know what? Let's not open up that rabbit hole because there's so much going on with AI. I don't want people to start questioning, or is the art, or is the song, is, the lyrics. So let's close that. And Para Bellum was more appropriate with what's going on today. Prepare for war. The artwork was going to have a mushroom cloud with an archangel with missile wings. And that was more appropriate for Para Bellum, Prepare for War, than Infanticide AI. So it just all kind of leaned, towards making sense to be called Para Bellum over that other title.
That is a great artwork, by the way, too. Like, it turned out beautifully, and I think it captures the album as a whole. But you guys, well, one of the things I love about Testament, amongst many of the other thrash bands, even nowadays, is that you tend to mix death with thrash, and especially, as I mentioned, you mix in a bit of the blackened influence in like the first couple of songs, especially of this album. What has changed in the writing style, aside from what you were mentioning of writing the riffs and the vocals separately, what has changed fundamentally over the years compared to the days of the Legacy and the New Order?
Well, a lot has changed, but I think dramatically on this record, Para Bellum, was bringing Chris, our new drummer. Chris was 24 when he came into the band. He's 27 now. He's very young. He listened to a whole different generation of metal than we did. He's influenced and inspired by a whole different generation that we are. So by him coming into the band and working with Eric, I think he's bringing that new young energy that he has, and maybe turning Eric onto some newer, younger bands that Chris knows of that we might not know of, that might inspire us a little bit and push and maybe open Eric to push those limits, especially him loving the black metal that he does. Man, to have a drummer like Chris, man, let's go. He's got his foot on the gas. Let's go. Let's write. And because of that, I think that's what Chris really brought to this, because Chris was the first drummer that put in a lot of time with Eric, which that's what Eric needs, a drummer that could commit and just write, which Chris was. And so that was the special thing about this record, is having Chris and that new energy, still Testament, but still bringing it to a current today feeling,
Yeah, and it definitely comes through on the album as a whole. And especially, I think vocally, you are also like doing such a good job. I mean, you've gone from like the pure like thrash barking of the 80s to like full on like as I mentioned, death adjacent brutality. Was that evolution intentional over time, or was it you just pushing yourself for new challenges as a vocalist?
Well, I think just me being a big guy was almost something natural. Just something guttural about being a big guy. And then early on in my years live, I always just put the or the just in my live show. And so I think around the Demonic record, I did a song Dogface. No, not Demonic. The Low record. I did a song Dogface Gods was the very first song I sang a full song with that death voice. Ooh. And old fans were kind of like, no, what are you doing? Don't do that. But then there was some new fans that were like, oh, I love it. Yes, Testament, go death metal, And so you're caught kind of in a weird spot. Like, okay, we're getting new fans, but are we losing old fans? I don't know, So how do we combine this, or how do we make this work for both ways? So I found a way to sing death, but also hit a melodic chorus in there, or put a melodic verse or a phrase. And so I started trying to incorporate it both to make it work in that sense.
Yeah, and I feel like the combination works for you guys as well. Are there any songs, though, in your entire discography that are a nightmare to perform live as a result?
Well, they're not nightmares, but they're difficult because, as I said, we write a lot of songs without rehearsing them. We got music and we do demos and we write them, not as a band. So some of those times when I write lyrics, I write too many words. I don't think about how it's going to be live. I think about the studio, what I'm going to sing, because you can just take a break and sing line by line if you want. So when I did like songs on The Gathering, songs like, let's see, what is it? Down for Life. That was a song on there where it's a great song and everybody, and I would love to play it. We've done it a few times and it's very difficult because I write too many words where I don't have time to take a breath in between there anywhere.
Oh.
So it's always one of them songs. And it's the song where I'm holding my breath and I'm singing it way up here, and so to take a breath when I'm almost holding my breath, it's almost impossible, so it's one of those songs. Seems
like it would be difficult, just a little bit.
It's very difficult. And then songs like Sins of Omission was always one that was always hard too. But last year we celebrated practice and I ended up getting the confidence and doing it and working it out to where I was able to do it. And it felt great. So Down for Life's another one is my challenge. I will get it live. I will do it, eventually.
Yeah.
you know, but there's those tough ones, and they're my own fault because I wrote too many words, you know.
I feel that one in my soul. But I mean, hey, if you want to, I mean, you're going on tour soon, so that's something you could probably bring up. Speaking of which, you're about to embark on the next tour, Thrash of the Titans, with Overkill and Destruction. What a stacked fucking lineup! At this stage of your career, what does it mean to still be rolling with Overkill and Destruction?
Well, it feels great. You know, we've tried over our career with our agent being teamed up with new modern bands, sometimes not working. We've seen that the tours that seem to be the most successful are sticking with our genre, sticking with the bands that are all around the same era. We seem to have more success, so we kind of went back to that. But it's kind of now leaning towards using some of the newer bands again, so it's kind of changing again. But when we did the Thrash of the Titans in Europe with Obituary and Destruction and Nervosa, it was a great package. We really wanted to bring it to America, but Obituary couldn't get the time to fit it in. And we had a new record, and we got to get out there. So we figured Overkill came to the table, and that was a good choice because we have a lot of history. They're right in the same genre. We're good friends. So, yeah, it made sense. And the fans seemed to thought it was a good idea, so we went with it. And now here we are. It's going to be a good night of like good friendship, a lot of old school music, a lot of, you know, taking bands through their history of years of making the style of music. It's going to be a good show.
Oh, I don't doubt. I mean, last time I saw you guys was you were opening up for Slayer in their farewell tour with Behemoth, Lamb of God, and Anthrax.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, and it was one of my favorite shows. First of all, seeing Slayer on their farewell, bucket list achieved. But you guys were such a stellar opening to have. So, and you look like you're having a lot of fun as well. So I'm about to ask you to pick some favorites here. Of all of the countries that you have performed in over the course of your career, which one do you want desperately to go back to again?
Oh, God, there's so many. But, you know, at this stage in our career, we're actually telling our agent, send us places we've never been. I mean, to play for somebody that's a fan for 40 years and they never got to see your band because we never got there. I love doing those shows. I love meeting those fans. I love seeing the excitement that I finally get to see you guys. That feels so good, you know?
Well, is there any countries you have not been to yet that you are looking to get to in the future?
Well, I mean, we've got an offer to go to India. Like, we've all looked forward to going there. We went to, like, I don't know, 3 years ago, we went to Nepal to play Kathmandu. That was awesome.
Ooh.
You know, it was really cool experience. The culture was awesome. We went to China, and we're trying to get back there again. Went to Israel. Would love to get back there again. Yeah, I mean, there's places that, you know, we've been everywhere. We like to go places we haven't been at this point. You know, those are the exciting ones to see those new fans.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Now, one of the things I did before this interview began was I asked some of the listeners, you know, if they have any questions that they would like me to ask you. And one of them came from, as I mentioned, my buddy Collin Sterling, who was the host of Thrasher's Paradise on Indie 101.5 FM. He knows that this tour so far is slated for the U.S. Are there any talks for future potential Canadian dates and beyond?
Yeah, I think Canada, we might do that as a separate run. So we might just start on one end and work our way all the way across Canada just to do a Canadian run. Going in and out of Canada, crossing borders gets tough. You know, it's not always the easiest thing to do these days. So
yeah, especially nowadays. Yikes.
Yeah, so that's tough. So we're not trying to keep it separated right now. But yeah, we want to go there because Canada, we've always had great success with the shows. Fans are great. So it's in our plans.
That's great to hear. And I can guarantee you, me and Collin would definitely be stopping by the show if you ever came to like the Toronto area or even like London, Ontario. God damn, that'd be awesome.
For sure, Toronto, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Now, one of the things that he also predicted was, as I mentioned in the beginning, that 2026 is the year of thrash. I mean, Megadeth releasing their Swan Song album, Creator dropping Crushers of the World the week before, Exodus is about to release Goliath, and more tours are coming. And as I mentioned, Anthrax is set to tease and drop their new album. So with this tour, with Overkill and Destruction, do you feel that the year of thrash prediction is holding any water so far?
I think so, especially if all those bands deliver great music. Hell yeah. Especially all those bands going this long to still putting out good music. That's awesome.
Yeah. Did you end up hearing the new Megadeth, by the way? They're self-titled.
I haven't heard it all. No, I've heard a song on the radio on Sirius.
Okay, yeah. If you had a chance, I'm not even a big Megadeth fan, but that was one of the best albums I've heard from them in modern era. I highly recommend. But as Megadeth is beginning to retire, Slayer has no idea if they want to retire, and most thrash fans don't even consider Metallica thrash anymore. Who do you feel outside of Testament could become the next big four of modern American thrash metal?
I don't know. That's a loaded question, because it's too busy, and there's too many titles of metal. Black Death. It's too much. It was a small group back when we were 80s. So I just hope that there is bands out there, like Lamb of God's probably one that's really strong, gonna keep forging forward. But there's bands that just got to keep going at it and attack it and keep growing, and not give up and not change, and, try to follow the new flavors that come to town. Cause for us, we've stuck with one type of music and one flavor of Testament, and it's worked for us. So, I mean, it does work.
Yes, and on that note of different flavors, as somebody who's been around the block for a long time, do you feel that is there any advice that you would like to give to any newer thrash bands that might be listening to this, who want to do something with their sound, but don't want to just be another carbon copy of something that has worked before?
I mean, always. If you love metal, stick with metal, keep playing metal, it's like anything you do in life. I mean, the more you do it, the better you get. You're a weightlifter, you lift weight for 20 years, you're probably going to be pretty strong. Same thing with music. You play music, you write this type of music, you stick with it, you develop, and you grow. And I think any new bands now, they just really got to figure out what they want to do, what style, stick with it, grow, be inspired by what's out there and around them, and apply it. I think that's kind of the only way to do it. And it's such a busy thing, and labels and so many people getting signed. If you can own and keep your music, that's the number one thing. Own your master recordings and your publishing.
Yeah, very important. Now we're about to wrap up here because we're on a cutoff here. But I do have one final question, possibly the most important question that everybody wants to know the answer to. If you could be any cereal box character, who would you be?
Well, I would have to be Tony the Tiger, because
Let's go.
Great.
You're great.
Great.
That's all. That's awesome. Chuck, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's going to wrap things up. Thrash of the Titans, the tour, starting March 14th at the Roseland Theater in Portland, Oregon. Make sure to get your tickets if they're coming near you. And I can't wait to see if the tour, if more dates for a future tour gets announced outside of the borders of the U.S. as well, and who might be joining Testament on that tour. Also, as well, check out Para Bellum. All links are down in the podcast description. Chuck, thanks so much for joining us on the Metal Robot Podcast. I appreciate your time.
Cool, right on, Tom. We'll see you somewhere up there in Canada.
You just listened to MRP, the Metal Robot Podcast.
The Rain of Fire has commenced, so we need to dip out for the night. Huge thanks once again to Testament's Chuck Billy for joining us tonight to talk about that tour, that banger of an album, and so much more. Who'd have thunk that he'd be a Tony the Tiger guy? Never would have guessed that. We're going to see what we can get going for the next episode, but I would love to hear who you would love to have on the show next. More thrash? Something else? Let me know in the YouTube comments or whatever comment section that you are in right now listening to this. In the meantime, though, thanks so much for listening to the Metal Robot Podcast. You can find more Metal Robot over at the Central Hub, themetalrobot.com, for all things metal. I've been Tom McKay. If you enjoyed this episode and you want more of the Metal Robot Podcast, make sure to subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts. We've got a lot more that's coming down the pipeline, and I will see you in the mosh pit next time. Have yourself a good night.